effort to give a general update on the status of the CARES Act money. As you know, the CARES Act money is the amount that's available for local schools to respond to the recent coronavirus pandemic. Alabama was awarded approximately $217 million from these funds, 90% of which will be directly distributed to our local education agencies across the state. We're in the process of, we have submitted our application to the Department of Ed. We have received approval and our associated grant approval notice. We're in the process of developing the required local LEA application to receive those funds. I believe we're really close on that, and those should be going out very shortly. The allocations to the LEAs, again, about $195 million goes out to the school districts directly. That money, the allocation per district was computed based on the Title I allocations for each district. So as a general rule of thumb, although it will be, you'll know for sure very soon, a general rule of thumb is about 81% of your allocation is what you can count on. But again, we'll be getting that information out very shortly. Once the application is submitted and approved, the money will be available, and the drawdown procedure will kind of mirror what the LEAs are used to. There will be a request form based on prospective expenditures or past expenditures. One of the allowabilities related to these monies is they can be spent retroactively back to March 13th. So we hope that'll give some LEAs the flexibilities to reimburse expenditures that they had right out of the gate when the pandemic set in.
As far as the dates for spending, Andy had said systems can go back and reimburse themselves for things they spent back to March 13th of this year. As far as the ending date, there is an end date of September 30th of 22 on the funds, but the encouragement is to spend those funds sooner than later, especially in this next year with several unknowns as far as local sales tax dollars and some other local revenues for systems. So we'd be encouraged to use this money to offset and make up some of those shortfalls there. Also related to the application, one of the questions that we had received was, will systems apply all at once, or will they apply as purchases are made? And so the application will be sent in one time for the systems application for their entire allocation of funds. So there will not be multiple applications, but as Andy said, as far as the drawdown goes, there will be multiple drawdowns on a monthly basis. As systems make these purchases, they can then request the actual funds to be reimbursed. These funds are federal funds, but and typically systems would be subject to supplanting requirements. However, with these funds, the supplanting requirements have been deferred, and therefore systems could spend these for typical things that they would have spent state and local dollars for. As far as how systems can spend these funds, there's really the broad categories. A couple of the initial ones are any activities that fall under ESSA or IDEA. So think of that as anything that would fall as an authorized use for Title I or federal special ed funds. They can also be used for purchasing educational hardware and software for students. Things such as distance learning, summer school, or any type of supplemental after-school programs for students. Mental health services, and training on and supplies for sanitizing, deep cleaning buildings, things of that nature. There are other things in the application, other categories that systems can spend their funds on. And so kind of related to that, one of the questions that we had also received was, can these monies be used to replace lost local revenue? And And so the initial response to that would be no as far as replacing revenue. But if a system is strategic in the way they allocate these funds, then you can help offset that loss of revenue. So an example would be something that an expenditure would normally be spending out of local or state dollars that you may not have the local revenue for next year. Those expenditures could be spent from these CARES funds, thereby freeing up those local dollars or filling that hole for lost revenue. So they can be used to fill that spot. Another question was for distance learning, can we purchase Chromebooks? Of course, I mean, the allowable activities include, like I said, software and hardware and remote or distance learning type expenditures. Can we pay salaries? Yes, like we said, the funds could be used for anything you would normally use state or local money for. So in essence, and since supplanting is not an issue and you're not required to have all of those state earned units placed at a school before you could spend any federal funds, these funds in essence could be used for salaries and benefits as well. There was also a question related to the child nutrition program, asking if a system could reimburse their child nutrition program for salaries due to less income coming in since March for that. I think the initial straight answer to that would be no, as far as replacing those salaries. There may be some additional guidance that comes from that, but there are other type expenditures that these monies could be used for, but directly reimbursing for C&P salaries, I don't think so. Several systems that have continued to feed during the shutdown are continuing to receive USDA reimbursement to cover those type salaries. So I would say no to that particular question.
In rolling these CARE funds out or planning for the distribution of these CARES Act funds, we worked a lot with the U.S. Department of Education in applying for the funds and also developing our application for the LEAs. So one of the focal areas of the funds are to be strategic in the investment and to really focus on the educational needs of the students related to the pandemic. So assessing and addressing any kind of a learning loss that may have occurred, how to potential investments that would make up some of those learning losses. For example, a specific example would be an after-school program or a summer learning program. And also a focus on remote learning and building capacity at the local level to be able to provide those remote learning opportunities if indeed when we start school again that we have a resurgence of the virus and have to close schools in areas. There's a real focus on the investments of building our capacity to utilize the remote learning in our school system.